Korin sacrificed his fourth limb during a foolish bet, not through combat or mishap, but through pride. "If you can match my drinking," he'd growled at the smooth-skinned little human with bent features and worn gear, "I'll tear off my own appendage." He never anticipated acceptance of his challenge, certainly never expected defeat. But the human calling himself only Martinez had merely grinned slightly and filled the initial glass. The Zeltari were an arrogant race with armored spines, reinforced rib cages, and fame for flourishing on worlds that would dissolve the organs of weaker species. Their homeworld Nexus Prime circled a white-blue star and experienced heat that made stone perspire, corrosive downpours, and hunters with calcium-hardened jaws had forged them into survivors. They proclaimed this throughout every sector. Martinez, however, originated from Terra. "What's your world's classification?" Korin had pressed once, gripping a damp cloth to his severed limb's remains. Martinez simply tasted something amber and acrid-scented. "We name it Terra. It has shores and arachnids the size of your head." Arachnids, eight-limbed creatures, toxic, hairy, some airborne. Korin had never appeared more disturbed. The drinking match was 3 days past now. Martinez walked solitary through the metallic passages of the Alliance's Advanced Operations Facility on Vega 7, acknowledging briefly the scattered aliens who encountered him. The station hummed with fresh deployment news. Whispers had circulated of a world found in the Theta region that replicated the atmospheric chaos of imploded stellar remnants. Poisonous atmosphere, shifting geology, solar eruptions that could liquefy protective barriers within moments. Naturally, Alliance leadership wanted their elite deployed. "Only Deathworld survivors required," someone had quipped. The designation categorized planets so lethal that evolution occurring there defied probability. Most species claimed one, perhaps two Deathworlds in their past, long since evacuated. The Zeltari possessed 4. The Vandari boasted 6. The Korin claimed their forebears had conquered 8. Humans, when initially assessed, had recorded 11. But that wasn't the startling revelation. Terra was a Category 6 Deathworld independently. Most presumed the Alliance had erred, but after several interactions, most ceased questioning. In the mission preparation chamber, 25 delegates of hardened races had assembled. The Zeltari, the Vandari, the stone-plated Drex, even the gaseous Poloni had dispatched a containment-suited representative. They stood in formal attention as the mission leader entered. "This is designation HX-847, the leader began, projecting a hologram of a writhing crimson planet. The chamber resonated with subdued unease. Electromagnetic tempests danced across the terrain. Molten rivers coiled like serpents through razor ridges. "Nothing survives there," whispered the Drex delegate. "Incorrect," the leader responded. "We detected an emergency transmission 4 cycles past. Source unknown, brief pulses of symbols in an unfamiliar language. However, we traced it to HX-847. The chamber shifted. This wasn't excavation or study. They were dispatching a team to investigate. Survival equipment was prepared. Descent would be manual. They required 6 volunteers. The silence was brief. Korin stepped forward. "The Zeltari accept." 4 others followed. A Vandari warrior named Thex, who wielded 4 blades and communicated only through snarls. A silent Drex, whose hide reflected the briefing illumination like polished metal. An arthropod strategist from a species none could pronounce. And Martinez. Some shifted, some chuckled. Korin narrowed his remaining optical organs. "You're serious? I could outdrink you with damaged organs." "I'll cope," Martinez replied. "This isn't a tavern. This is a death world." Martinez shrugged. "Sounds like a wilderness excursion back home." Later aboard the descent vessel, the tension was less amusing. "What's the harshest you've experienced, human?" Thex asked, his voice like crushed gravel. Martinez reclined. "Ever been in -40 without protection? Skin freezing so rapidly it fractures when you move?" Thex grunted. "Ever traversed through marshland where the liquid contains living microbes that devour flesh within half a minute, and there are insects that deposit larvae in your auditory canals while you rest?" The Drex gave him a peripheral glance. What about oxygen, so depleted it's like inhaling through saturated fabric while you're ascending stone formations in complete darkness? The arthropod clicked several mandibles. You fabricate. Martinez retrieved a worn photograph from his chest compartment. A youth, unshod in a snow-blanketed meadow, gripping a branch. That's my sibling, age 8. We called it a winter survival game. Korin shook his head. I don't believe you. Martinez folded the photograph and replaced it. You will. The vessel trembled violently as it penetrated HX-847's atmosphere. Fire caressed the viewport edges, volcanic gases and churning pressure systems pressed against the hull like hammers. When they landed, the hatch opened with a gradual hiss, admitting the scorching air. Every alien emerged in heavy protective equipment, shields, filters, reinforced footwear. Martinez walked out in a patched work uniform and dark eyewear. The ground fractured beneath their steps. Wind shrieked like a tormented beast. In the distance, something massive writhed through a molten canyon. Korin turned to Martinez. Still think it resembles home? Martinez grinned. Ever been to Detroit? The wind on HX-847 was alive. It roared around jagged formations and launched debris like projectiles. The 6 explorers advanced, boots grinding over blackened stone that steamed with chemical heat. Most moved cautiously, equipment humming and clicking. Martinez walked with hands in his pockets. Your suit's integrity will fail within an hour, Korin muttered, checking his scanner. You're not built for this. Martinez didn't look back. Neither was my dwelling in Nebraska, but it remained standing. Is Nebraska another Terra Deathworld? Sort of. Tornadoes, aggressive waterfowl, suburban food chains. Thex let out a short bark. It might have been laughter, might have been discomfort. The group trudged onward. The signal beacon pulsed weakly through the scanner feeds, guiding them up a jagged ridge. The climb was steep, worsened by magnetic interference, and air so thin it felt like sipping through cloth. Even the Drex paused to recalibrate his oxygen cycle. Only Martinez didn't slow. He climbed with casual steps, pausing only to whistle low notes that seemed wildly inappropriate on the burning slope. At the summit, the group gathered to observe a gaping valley below. It was littered with wreckage, destroyed hulls, twisted alloy, and the burnt remains of a structure half sunken into molten rock. The beacon was originating from there. Could be a crashed research vessel, the arthropod muttered, or a trap. I don't care what it is, Korin replied. We're here. We go in. They descended slowly, rocks shifting beneath their weight. When they reached the wreckage, the air was thick with the scent of scorched metal and ozone. Martinez touched a fragment of alloy, squinting at it. Human construction? He said quietly. The others turned. Are you certain? The arthropod asked. Yeah, see that marking? That's a Terran Alliance supply panel. And that bolt design, only Terra engineers use that kind of excess. Korin examined the wreckage more closely. What would a human vessel be doing here before the Alliance even mapped the system? Martinez didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on a charred sign, barely legible through ash. Kurt 7 Mining Company? Private enterprise, or? He murmured. Pre-union. Long before first contact. They went off-grid. Must have been lost for decades, maybe longer. So the beacon is a distress signal from them? Thex asked. Could be, but they should all be dead. No one could survive out here. As if summoned, the scanner pinged. A heat signature, faint but real. It moved. Martinez's expression changed. They followed it into the wreckage's belly. The hull groaned with each step, and parts of the floor had collapsed into bubbling magma vents. Twice the arthropod had to brace others with his clawed limbs. Martinez led without hesitation, ducking under twisted beams and shattered consoles. Eventually they found the source. A man, human, emaciated, burnt in places, wrapped in makeshift padding. He was leaning against a melted strut, breathing shallowly. His eyes fluttered open as the group approached. Martinez knelt. Easy, friend. You're safe. Name? The man blinked. His voice came out, cracked and raw. Nolan, first engineer, Kurt 7. Korin stared. You're from the mining crew? That's impossible. Nolan laughed weakly. Not impossible, just stupid. We stayed. We thought we could make it work. Martinez gave him water. Careful with the flow. Nolan drank it like it was sacred. How many of you are left? Martinez asked. Just me. Last flare went up 4 months ago. Thought no one was coming. We didn't even know you were here until that beacon. Nolan tried to sit upright. Don't leave yet. You have to see the thing in the tunnels. What thing? Korin said immediately. Something down below. It started after the tremors. Big. Wrong. It watches. It killed our last security team in minutes. I've been hiding since. Martinez stood. Then we go see it. The others looked less certain. Thex gripped his blade. The arthropod's antennae twitched nervously. You want to follow a starving miner's ghost story into the lower tunnels of a wrecked Deathworld facility? Korin asked. Yes, Martinez said, because this guy survived HX-847 longer than any of us. He's either crazy or right. Either way, I want to know what made the rest of them disappear. The descent would be harder. The structure grew unstable. The heat more intense the deeper they went. The darker it got until only their suit lights cut through the gloom. But the worst part wasn't the heat or the risk of collapse. It was the fact that something was breathing down there. The tunnels beneath the wreck were wrong. They hadn't been carved by drills. No mining equipment left these marks. The walls were smooth, curving like melted wax, but cool to the touch. A shimmer coated every surface, and the sound, faint and steady, was not mechanical. It was breathing. Slow, massive, patient. Martinez moved without speaking, his lamp casting narrow beams that seemed swallowed by the dark. Behind him, the others followed in tight formation. Thex muttered something in his native dialect, and the Drex silently activated his pulse blade. We should leave, the arthropod finally said. This is not our mission. Martinez stopped and glanced over his shoulder. You're welcome to go back. I won't stop you. No one moved. They continued deeper. The passage forked into a chamber that widened into a circular dome. Strange symbols lined the walls, etched too precisely to be random, but in no language any of them recognized. The air was thicker here, humming with a low frequency that vibrated through their boots. In the center of the dome was a hole, not just a hole, an open shaft, wide and clean as if bored by something ancient and vast. The scanner feeds were dead. Magnetic interference rendered most of their tools useless. Martinez stepped toward the edge and peered down. Can't see the bottom, he muttered. There shouldn't even be a shaft here, Korin said. The mining records Nolan gave us said they never touched this section. Martinez stood up and brushed his hand along the nearest symbol. I don't think they built this. I think they found it. And something didn't like being found. Behind them, Nolan stirred. He was leaning heavily on a support rod, breath rasping. It started as noise, vibrations. Then the lights would flicker. Equipment fried itself. Our chief geologist went down here to check. Never came back. Did anyone see it? Martinez asked. Nolan didn't answer for a moment. Yes, it moved like mist, but it had shape if you look long enough. And eyes, if they were eyes. Too many. And they glowed through solid steel. Thex gripped his blade tighter. All right, Martinez said. We go down. Why? The arthropod hissed. For what purpose? Martinez looked at them one by one. You all brag about surviving Deathworlds. This is one. We don't leave a threat like that behind. We learn. We adapt. We understand what we're up against. That's how humans stayed alive so long. No one argued. They descended the shaft using a mixture of cable and magnetic grips. The shaft walls were warm, and faint pulses of light moved under the surface like distant currents. 20 meters down, the shaft opened into a cavern. It was impossible. The space was too large to exist beneath the surface. Towering pillars of crystal arched into the darkness above, and a smooth floor stretched into fog. The moment their boots touched it, the humming stopped. Total silence. Then the fog shifted. A form emerged. Tall. Not walking, but gliding. It had no defined face, only curves of dark flesh and silver veins spiraling across its frame. It didn't charge. It didn't roar. It simply watched. Martinez took a step forward. We don't want to fight. We're here to understand. The thing tilted its head. Then it made a sound. Not speech, not a growl. It imitated Martinez's voice. We're here to understand. Everyone froze. Korin raised his rifle. It copied you. The creature took another step. Its voice changed again, now using Korin's. It copied you. Then Thex's. Then the arthropods. The words looped, twisted, layered. It didn't attack. It learned. Suddenly, tendrils unfolded from its arms and touched the ground. The crystals around them lit up. On each face was an image. A face. A different species. Hundreds. Some known, some extinct, some never before seen. Martinez swallowed. It catalogs everything it meets. Maybe everything it kills. Nolan stumbled back. It took them all, one by one. The creature stepped closer. Its mass was now filling half the chamber, though it didn't appear to grow. It was like their minds could barely hold its shape. The light flickered and the temperature dropped. Then it stopped. One tendril extended toward Martinez and hovered inches from his chest. No one moved. Even Thex was still. Martinez stared at it. You're not hostile yet. You're curious. You don't recognize me. That's why I'm still breathing. The creature pulsed. Its form shimmered. Martinez slowly reached up and pressed his palm to the tendril. The contact was instant and overwhelming. Visions burst behind his eyes. Landscapes from other planets, storms that erased cities, memories that weren't his. He saw alien stars, endless conflict, civilizations that rose and fell before Terra had fire. Then it stopped. The tendril withdrew. Martinez stumbled, caught himself, and blinked rapidly. It doesn't understand humans, he said hoarsely. Not really. Why not? Korin asked. Martinez turned toward them. Because we're new, and because we're not scared. The creature's retreat was silent, seamless, as if it had never been there. Its towering frame dissolved back into the fog, and the crystals dimmed, returning the cavern to its hollow, still hum. Martinez exhaled slowly, his hands still tingling from the contact. Thex broke the silence. You touched it. It wanted me to, Martinez replied, voice rough. The Drex tilted his head. What did it show you? Martinez knelt and traced his fingers across the smooth floor. Everything. A memory vault. It's not just cataloging. It absorbs. It stores what it finds. Personalities, histories, languages, entire species. Then why didn't it kill you? The arthropod asked. Martinez stood up. Because it couldn't read us. Not fully. Not yet. Maybe we're too strange, too unstable, or maybe too many contradictions. Korin's eyes narrowed. You think it was trying to understand what a human really is? Martinez nodded. It learns by touch, but our memories, our culture, it couldn't hold them. It was like pouring lightning into a jar. Nolan shifted uneasily. What happens when it learns how to understand us? Martinez looked up toward the shaft. That's why we have to leave. Now. Before it adapts. Before it decides to try again. The group wasted no time. Their ascent back up the shaft was slower. Martinez moved last, watching the dark below with narrowed eyes. The moment they reached the dome chamber, the humming returned. Behind them, the fog stirred, but the creature didn't reappear. Back on the surface, the heat of HX-847 felt almost forgiving. Their suits were coated in dust, their bodies aching, their nerves stretched thin. Martinez helped Nolan into the transport pod, then glanced at the others. That thing isn't a monster, he said. It's a question we weren't supposed to find yet. Korin let out a low grunt. Then we don't answer it. Not now. The ride back to the extraction point was silent. No one spoke. No one joked. Even Thex's usual half-growled observations were absent. They all felt it, the quiet realization that they had not conquered anything. They had simply been tolerated. When the shuttle docked with the Alliance vessel, medical teams swept in. Nolan was taken away for debrief and recovery. The others were ushered into isolation bays, but no quarantine protocol existed for what they had encountered. The commanding officer, a Corvan with ritual scarring, demanded answers. Martinez gave him a short report. No hostile contact, no biological threat, facility unstable. Recommend full quarantine on HX-847 and do not send more teams. You saw something? Martinez didn't deny it. Something that doesn't care what weapons we bring. Not yet, but if we keep poking it, one day it might. The Corvin hesitated, then gave the order to close the system. Hours later, alone in the observation deck, Korin joined Martinez. They stood silently for a while, watching HX-847 spin slowly in the black. "I've been to 5 Deathworlds," Korin said. "I've lost squad mates to magma bursts, flesh worms, acid snow. I've seen things eat steel. But that was different." Martinez didn't reply. "You weren't afraid," Korin continued. "I was. You didn't show it." Martinez leaned forward, resting his arms on the railing. "That's not what matters. What matters is that thing didn't understand fear. It only understood curiosity, and that's what makes it dangerous. That's what makes it like us." The Zeltari fell silent. A day passed, then another. Rumors swirled, whispers about a creature that had survived eons beneath a forgotten world, about a species so ancient it no longer communicated, only absorbed. But the official report listed the mission as routine. No further deployments were authorized. 4 cycles later, Martinez received a message. A research council wanted a meeting. He declined. He spent his leave on a small orbital station near a quiet moon. No cities, no broadcasts, just silence. One morning, as he sat with a mug of coffee and stared at nothing in particular, a Vandari engineer passed by and nodded. "You're Martinez, right? The Deathworlder." Martinez looked up. "I'm from Terra." The engineer chuckled. "Same thing, isn't it?" Martinez didn't answer. He thought of fog, of eyes, of voices layered like echoes. He thought of the way it had recoiled, not in fear, but in confusion. Not because it couldn't consume him, but because it didn't know where to start. Somewhere out there, it was still watching.